again, Struck. Another day, another build video from me. This one is not your typical bounty hunter setup. It is the bounty hunter 2.0 because I've been asked on that build. I've been asked questions regarding how to do that build now that I have information about gear and enchantments and all of that. And yes, this is the bounty hunter 2.0, but since I was severely disappointed by the action skills of the Spore Warden, Barrage and Blizzard for that specific setup, I decided to go with Polymorph. We are still using the capstone of the Spore Warden, and this is still Spore Warden main, even though I played it on Spellshot main because I didn't, just to save time to not level up a Spore Warden. So Spore Warden main build with Polymorph, the unusual choice for a bounty hunter build. I hope you enjoyed this build. Buckle up and let's go. As usual, starting with the skills. I would start with 3 points in magic bullets, then 2 points into prestidigitation, then 5 points font of mana, then 3 more points in prestidigitation to max it out, 2 points just warming up, and this should give us enough to put 1 point into high threat count. Then after that I would suggest maybe a Warcaster 2 points, and this is for the spell shot, but for the main class I would go for Eagle Eye 5 points, Bounty of the Hunt 5 points, then I would go for Medicinal Mushroom 1 point, 3 points Quiver of Holding, 3 points Windrunner, and then you would need 4 points Affinity, then 1 point Headhunter, 3 points Wrath of Nature, and 1 point Play the Angles. Here it's questionable whether this Affinity would be better than the gun crit hit chance. I think it's better. It boosts Play the Angles, and Play the Angles does work nicely on boss fights to make sure that while you're attacking the boss, the ats, the minions around the boss are also taking damage from those ricochets. It is a very solid setup. If you feel like it, you can try and put 1 point here, maybe removing 1 point from this place, or you can remove 1 point from here and put it there, although I think you won't be able to remove the point from there to put it there, but you will be able to remove it from here and putting it there. Some people would wonder why not imbued weapon. Because we're not spamming spells as much, and that's why I think with that it would work. Unless you find a spell with 2-3 charges with low cooldown, then imbued weapon could work, but again, we're just a single spell, so we won't be able to get that much out of it. And for the stats, I would suggest putting everything you can into intelligence and into dex, and the rest most likely into constitution, but if you feel fine, strength. In fact, some people might say, okay, we don't need that much crit hit chance, at best it's 50% of 5% increase. This bug is happening again, by the way, where it immediately removes the tooltips. But yeah, if you feel like the crit chance is not doing much for you, just put it into crit damage and max out spell cooldown and crit damage, and the rest into HP ward. Skill cooldown is also very good for this setup, so I might suggest testing first how it works spell cooldown and skill cooldown maxed out, and the rest into ward. There's many ways to play it. I personally would prefer playing it with skill cooldown and spell cooldown, the rest into crit chance. In fact, if you don't feel like you need spell cooldown as much, try another way. Try max skill cooldown, max crit damage, and then some HP. Let's talk gear. In terms of gear, there are various things to talk about. First, some recommended guns. Liquid cooling and Queen's Cry are amazing in the Frost department. When it comes to lightning, I really like Skeep Prot. The Skeep Prot is a solid, but it burns through your ammo quickly, so I use it only when really needed. Another thing to consider from the purple one is the Spriggan. I mean, ideally you would have chaotic or volatile items, and ideally on spellcast increase the damage type of the item itself by X for 5%. More about enchantments later. We'll talk about that. See, this is what a volatile looks like. So you can compare what to expect from a volatile item versus a chaotic item. This enchantment, while action skill is active, is also good for such a build, but it's not gonna be good on bosses. So I still recommend on spell cast increase for that. You could have, if eventually you have two good ones, you can enchant one on spellcast and one for while action skill is active. On spellcast for bosses, while action skill is active for anything else during regular fights where you can actually make an enemy into a Skeep. Another thing that is good is the Geodant. Then I like Bread Slicer, but it's not that great in terms of DPS compared to some of the other things. This one I also like, but it's fire, it's not frost. The Rogue Imp. There are some very nice fairy or purple weapons, which turn into various things when you throw them. The legendary ones are not that great, but Shadow Fire and this one, the Gluttony, are not terrible. And there is also this one, Ruby Spite. I like it, but again, it can't compare to Queen's Cry and Liquid Cooling in terms of DPS. In terms of bases here for the spell, I would take any spell you like. Calamity is amazing because it makes a huge mess, but it could also be a little bit eye cancer. You could try and go for a Buffmeister, or you can try and go for a Twister. First of all, you won't use it for damage. You would use it for indirect damage, meaning this spell will get auto-cast while the enemy is turned into a Skeep. You attack the enemy while the enemy is a Skeep, and it auto-cast spells. Another thing I like auto-casting is Threats of Fate, but I'm disappointed by the damage of that spell. Sure, it looks cool, it does very nice synergy, but I think you should find something like a Meteor that pulls insects in enemies. Some spell that works on flying and ground enemies alike. If you use something like Glacial Cascade or Thunder, it will only work on ground enemies and it's not gonna happen. Does work, could be good. It could be interesting. If you're playing in a team and you feel like, okay, I want to revive my team, Reviver is not a bad one for healing. Marshmallow is good for healing as well. I was trying to find a Dazzler. I might not have taken one. Well, in any case, try to find a spell you like. Try to find a spell you like and keep in mind that this spell is gonna get auto-cast a lot of the time while you're shooting at the polymorphed enemy. For the shields, I like Static Charge, especially one with high capacity. But if you think you have a different shield in mind with high capacity, do it. There are runes, very good rune shields that can go with very high capacity. If you feel like you want to go a little bit more glass cannon, then you can try using a Cursed Writ. But I personally prefer well boosted with good capacity Static Charge. Ideally one that gives you plus 25 ward capacity or something like that. For the rings, I would say go for gun damage or spell damage. Ideally, it will be gun damage. Things that give you, see, those two are pistols. This one is an SMG, and if those are the main weapons you use and spam and shoot a lot, try to get SMG reload speed, pistol reload speed, pistol magazine size, SMG magazine size, things like those. Gun critical hits, if you can get them, would be amazing. And yeah, just get gun damage ideally. Here I would go for frost damage if using frost, or the elemental damage of whatever you're using, if you're using something else. And then Spore Warden power. I've got this one, which gives me gun damage and spellshot power. And I'm not sure if it will be better, but it might be, because it's volatile. And it gives you reload speed and action skill cooldown rate. In terms of stats, reload speed and action skill cooldown rate are probably the two best things you want. Fire rate is another good thing you can get. Magazine size and things like that, I'm not sure if you can get, but if you can, yeah, you can get gun magazine size. Shield capacity, all damage dealt, other things you can get there. In terms of stats, very useful. And my favorite base is the sacrificial Skeep, to keep you alive. If you can get sacrificial Skeep with frost damage or gun damage and Spore Warden or Spellshot power with good rolls, definitely use it. Turch, the Turch is a good base as well. It synergizes well with Polymorph. For armor, there are various armors to get. You want either Alchemist or Bombardier. Alchemist is Spellshot Spore Warden, Bombardier is the reverse Spore Warden Spellshot. Ideally you get a Bombardier, but I don't think it really matters. It all gets in this, goes in the same place. Except Spore Warden stuff will boost the Spore Warden skills, Spellshot stuff will boost the Spellshot skills. The way I think it is. I can't confirm this though. Here I would like stuff with maximum ward capacity, maximum HP, gun damage, all damage dealt, things like those would be nice. See, those two, either of them are good, but the Calamity seems to be a better base than the Head of the Snake, for obvious reasons. So if you find a good Calamity with the stats that I mentioned, it will be nice. Why the Calamity? The Calamity can give you +1 point here, which is nice. There are purple armors that can give you +1 point to glass cannon if you decide to go for a glass cannon build. But if you go glass cannon, you might as well put a point in mage armor, so I would prioritize this. You can try and look for purple armor that boosts things like Headhunter with 1 point, or things like Bounty of the Hunt with a few points. I'm sure there's legendary armor boosting Eagle Eye. You could try going for it if you don't think you need that much the extra spell weaving stacks. We're not using this, so spell weaving is not that great for us right now, but it's still good enough because of the extra spell damage, which increases gun damage. But I would say if you can get Headhunter 1 point from a purple armor, get it. If you can get some points to Bounty of the Hunt, it will be useful, and Eagle Eye. Those are the 3 things I like the most here. Maybe with this one, the 4 things. This one's not bad, but I'm not sure you can get armor with increases to it. If you can, that's also another good thing. But don't ignore purple armor. Purple armor can be just as useful. It doesn't have that extra special ability, but it's good enough. And about enchantments, I'll just leave the text on the screen so you can pause and read them, just to save time. So yeah, I'm just gonna talk for a few more seconds and then we can move on to the next segment. So yeah, feel free to pause, read all those suggested enchantments. Where it says unknown type enchantment, it means I'm not sure exactly for what type of item you can get this. I'm using that spreadsheet, which you can find the link for in the description. And just something I forgot to mention, the Warped Paradigm and the Smart Armor can also be an interesting armor basis for this setup, so keep that in mind. Especially the Warped Paradigm for this setup might synergize well if you like the skills they increase, obviously. And when it comes to mid ranks, I always say that check what stats are important for your build. What's important for your build is the one you want to prioritize, since the system is designed in a very non-user friendly way, where you have to put 1 point into one, another second, third, fourth, another second, third, fourth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can just start putting points just in the things you need. For this build, what we need is we need intelligence, we need attunement. We need, as I showed you here, intelligence, attunement, ideally constitution, and then eventually strength and dex you would want to level up. What you don't need as much is wisdom. You could leave wisdom for later. And yeah, the rest is pick the damage you're using. If you're using frost, level up frost. If you're using fire, level up fire. If you're using dark magic, level up dark magic. Just check the damage that you're using from your spells and guns, especially the guns, and level that one up. Things I like here to prioritize are reload speed and fire rate, reload speed and magazine size before movement speed. But you might want to go for movement speed first if you prefer it. Eventually everything will get maxed out, so just choose what you think is more useful for you at that moment. Keep in mind you can subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button to not miss out notifications for more Wooter and not so Wooter content like this one or others like builds and guides. There's also memberships on my channel, which is a monthly recurring payment that you can cancel at any time, which will grant you access to special perks like emotes or badges made by me, as well as the option to ask me one-on-one for tutorials on Discord about Photoshop, Premiere and After Effects, just the basics though. Thanks again for watching all the way until the end, struck weapon. Till next time and goodbye.